Study who are sitting there. I believe when I was born, Mosi kept me in her arms, and they were faculty professors in the BHU Medical School. Also, among the students of that time, Nikhil is here, Anup Garg is here, also undergraduate, both undergraduate students at that time. Yogesh is not here today, but yesterday he came just for this. He was doing PhD at that time, and now a faculty member in Patna, IIT Patna. So this is like a homecoming. I didn't think of it that way, but yes, it is like a homecoming. And colleagues from, I don't see this boundary of IIT BHU and BHU, frankly. I always failed to see that. I saw this as one. Administratively, yes, some lines you always have for smooth running, but otherwise this is one place. And in a way, as Professor Sanjay Kumar mentioned and Professor Kamalji also said indirectly, that this Prachi and Pratichi are made. I looked when I visited IIT BHU before becoming director, and even before when I was asked to appear before the search cum selection committee. I talked to many people, including my Mosi Mosaji and others who had studied here, others who were faculty here. I happened to meet Professor Anil Tripathi at this DST conference, rather meeting. And what I realized when I visited here before becoming director, and I suddenly realized that this place has a great strength, and that strength is that of relationships. It is bonding, it is people. India is going down or hurtling now in that other path of aspirations, of trying to achieve physical facilities, physical vikas, advancement. And if we ask people, what do you want? Nobody would say, they say we want both. We want vikas, development, as well as relationships. The only problem we are having is we don't know how to do it. Now both are good, but both have a problem. What is the problem? This aspirational India. The problem is it leads to individualism. The way it is being implemented, or the way it has happened in Europe, etc. Families get broken. You become nuclear family, and that also is broken after that. And then you become individual. Every human being is individual, and then he's a consumer. That inevitably leads to depression, and the end point is suicide. If you try to find where the maximum suicide rate is there, you will find in those countries where the physical advancement has been the most. So aspirational India, that is the final end point. Relational India also has a problem. Relational India, we are bonded with people who we consider as our kind, our caste, our religion, our area. So we are very good with them, but others are our enemies, or there is group conflict. When that happens, we say, oh, let's get rid of this relationship, or let's get rid of the group conflicts, which we end up assuming that it means removing all relationships. That is the end point. So unfortunately, this is a struggle. And when I came here, I said this place has the strength which India needs, that of relationship. And it has to be blended with the aspirations or you can also say working of systems such that things get done smoothly towards a goal. Nation expects from the universities that they will solve society's problems, and those problems relate to aspirations also, and some are others. But Technology Institute, the expectation is it will develop technology that will connect with society. So when I came here, I talked to many people, and I know in the search cum selection committee also they asked me, do you have a plan? I said, no, I have no plan. I have only an approach. Plans will be made by faculty there, by people there. And this approach, at that time I didn't know the word, or I didn't think of it as those two words. But I said impactful research, so technology gets developed, and holistic education. These were the two things I told the selection committee, which I have written down in my book. I still have those slides which I presented, just 4 slides. So when I came here, I came with that view. And one thing I had always felt from IIT Kanpur onwards was this idea of dialogue and democratic function. So we want to have aspirations and relations coming together. And the larger systems process has to be dialogue and democratic function. So that is the approach. What plans would be made, that would depend on people who are the best judge about the ground situation. So I remember somebody told me in the search cum selection committee that, oh, do you mean to say you will tell faculty what to do? I said, and good faculty should be left to do their best. I said, exactly, I agree with you. The only thing my role will be planting the vision, planting these two things together, relationship and doing technology to society. After that, my job is done. And of course, since it was also a transition process, building an IIT kind of systems and so on, which were there part of the Act of the Parliament for IIT BHU. And of course, I will follow them, build those systems. My experience from IIT Kanpur, certainly I will use, and IIT Hyderabad. So that is how I came here, so to connect with some of the things that were mentioned. Now, one thing is very clear to me. In education, the most important thing is the bond between faculty and students. And staff plays a very important role. So all education takes place around that bond. If you build that bond, then education will go forward. And when I say education, I mean not only technical side of the education, but the worldview, drishti, the life, guidance about life and future, planning which should be done by the student about his or her own life. So that teacher-student bond has to be the fulcrum, the pivot on which the institution will rise. I have no doubt about it anytime, even today, even when there is so much of technology and online and so on. But that teacher-student bond will be the vehicle which will lift and transform our educational institutions. So, when I came here, of course there were many things that people said these things need to be addressed, whether about facilities, about teaching, about curricula, new ordinances, regulations, of course the infrastructure, the establishment of labs, research groups. There were all these elements, and in a way So I said we'll tackle all of them at the same time, in a way. But tackling all of them at the same time means what? If we build the right teams, then the teams are the ones who will do it. The teams and groups of faculty, also involving students wherever appropriate. So those teams will carry out the change. They will carry out the transformation. So that is the way I worked. And for example, while making of curricula, so I said it's the faculty committee which will design the curriculum. The goals is what my job is or my role is to project that this is what we want our students to be. So that, and there it is not only technology, it is humanities, it is social science, it is human values also. Along with that art, performing arts or visual arts. And BHU has a school on each one of them and much more. Faculties of various kinds, various subjects. So I asked how many courses can our students take in BHU? They said, no, they can't take. There is one course where BHU faculty come and teach. This is in their third year. And sometimes the faculty of IIT BHU itself teaches, but there are 3 or 4 options available. So here was an institution, great institution, built with great vision for the country, where there are silos. Each faculty teaches its subjects to its students. Now at research level there was collaboration between IIT and BHU because of biomedical, biochemical, chemical and the medical school, medical institute and so on. But as a general student gathering something, gaining from this rich institution around them, they were making. So that is why as I told you, somehow I can't see the boundaries. I'm sorry. I don't see these boundaries between institutions and between knowledge. Knowledge is one, and it is interdisciplinary. Yes, I learned something in my area, but then I have to relate to other areas. So it's interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary also. Where interdisciplinarity cannot yet come in. There is transdisciplinary. So this is where I thought I could do. So in the making of the curriculum, we provided all the provisions such that our students can take courses in BHU. And we had courses where the BHU is the best body which can teach those courses, the faculty from there. So this is what we try to do. But now, whenever you have such subjects, then what happens to your own branch, your own subject? So that was the goal of persuading faculty. And faculty saw that, fortunately for me, they saw it. And the committee that was there for curriculum review had members from almost every department. Some 12-member committee. And that committee designed, I remember, the approach paper. This is after, within a couple of months after coming here, after sorting out that the ordinance work was going on, we formed the curriculum committee. And that committee prepared the approach paper. That approach paper was discussed in every department. And they already had a member in the committee from the department. So there was a exchange of views. And that larger goal had to be transmitted, and which must have happened to a good extent. And then fortunately people agreed. So the approach paper was approved first. So the goal, agreement on the goal is most important. Now when you try to execute that goal, then comes opposition. Why? Because my favorite course is now become optional, no longer compulsory.
This is
so then there is
lecture by Raju Shangal sir.
about the approach. And the approach paper was